Oh, there we go. Good
Yes.
morning, everybody who's joining us out in uh, Zoom land, recording land. We're happy to be here on a very sunny day, the 10th of July. We're going to be studying today the chapters of 19 and 20 in Sefer Shoftim, and we welcome you. If you're watching this and you have been part of the class, we are going to make a siyum at the Museum of Philistine Culture in Ashdod. We have a bus. If you would like to join us, please read the notice that has been sent out and RSVP immediately. The spaces are very limited on this 20 passenger bus. Okay, I want to welcome everybody and I hope everyone is feeling well. Today we're going to begin with a little bit of a review of chapter 19. Last week's class was not recorded. Unfortunately, I will record it, but for today it has not been, so I will give you a little bit of um, uh, a review. Can anybody?
Wait, when do we have to say the bracha for learning?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I need everyone to help me because my head is not, all there. I don't know. It's because Beverly's not sitting next to me anymore. I don't know. I'm gonna need a new sidekick if she doesn't come back. Okay, so let's make the bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Melech Olam,
asher
Kiddush, Shotzav,
great Torah.
Great Torah.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
For reminding me. I don't know. Okay, so let's hope that my head will stay on course here and we'll be okay. So, chapter 19 of Sefer Shoftim was a tremendously disturbing chapter. We read the chapter is called the Pelegesh of Givah. Does anyone remember what Pelegesh means?
Concubine?
Yes, concubine. Thank you. And what is it that and why is it that we talk about the concubine of Givah? Does anyone have some memory of what we did last week? Yes, Rita.
Well, a concubine is somebody that you were married to. It wasn't like a prostitute or anything like that, but and so you would get to, it could be it's a regular marriage.
Is a marriage without a chuppah and a
Right.
tuba.
And in this particular case, his concubine had left him and went to her father's house, and then he decided to go to get her. And every time they were ready to go back to their own home, his father-in-law would tell him, no, wait a little while, wait. And so it was several days before they finally departed. I don't remember the names of the cities, but they stopped in one that wasn't a Jewish city.
It was
and
called
one
Yevus. Yevus. It was the Jebusites' control of what would someday become Jerusalem.
And so they went on to a city that was more Jewish, and they got shelter for the night. And then the people in the city found out that they were there, and they went to the owner of the house and they said, we want the men. And he said, oh, you can't have the men because they were immoral. And they offered the concubine, and they took her and they did very bad things to her until in the morning she came in and she was dead. And her husband took her back to their house and cut her up into 12 pieces and distributed them among the tribes.
Right. Okay. Very good. Rita, thank you.
Rita, that was great.
Okay. It was very good. Kol hakavod.
Ah.
So what do we see from this story about this husband who goes to Beit Lechem from the tribe? He's a Levite. He goes to the to retrieve his wife. Some people say, you know, she had an affair or something. She did something, caused some friction between the two. Maybe she did something that wasn't that caused him to be angry. Whatever it was, we're not exactly sure. And he decides he misses her and he wants her back. So he goes to Beit Lechem and he goes to get her. And the concubine, the Pelegish's father, offers them lovely hospitality and for several days, and every time they're ready to go, as Rita said, they were delayed by the father. We're not really sure why the father insisted on them staying and for 5 days, but they did. Now, it could be that it gives us a sense of the kind of hospitality that was being offered in Beit Lechem, as opposed to the hospitality that we see at the further into the story. Sometimes, whether this was true chesed, haknasa orchim, real welcoming of guests, or whether the father-in-law had an ulterior motive, we're not really sure. But what happens is after they do leave, the servant says to the Levite man and the Pelegesh, let's stop. It's late. It's getting to be late. Let's stop in Yevush, which is Jebus, for the Jebusite, who were the conquerors of the land, to a city to be eventually Jerusalem. But at the time, it was not a Jewish city. It was a pagan city. And the Levites said, absolutely not. We're not going to stop there because I'm not stopping in a non-Jewish city. But what he does do is he continues on his trip, and they stop at in Giva, which is in the tribe of Benjamin. And they go to the thoroughfare, the main street, where people would stop and say, listen, do you need a place for the night? Or innkeepers might be there, or people who were happy to open their houses to strangers for the night or give them a meal. And no one stops. And this is a Jewish city, and nobody stops to ask them if they need hospitality for the night. So here we see some strange kind of activity in a Jewish community. Then, and it starts to get late, and the sun is going down. Finally, one old man who's coming out of the fields from work stops and says, come to my house. And the Levite says, look, I have everything I need. All I need is a place to put my head with my servant and my wife. And the old man says, don't be silly, come to my house. He feeds them, he takes care of them. And the next thing they know, there's people from the city who are surrounding the old man's house, demanding that he give up the the Levite, to this crowd of men who say, give us your guest. We want to have our way with him, to be intimate with him. And it uses the word intimate. They wanted to have homosexual relations with him. And we said, when we heard that request, it reminds us of Lot when he hosted angels, it reminded us that the people of Sodom and Gomorrah were pounding on the door of Lot and saying, "Give us the men you have in your house so we can be intimate with them." The same exact wording. They wanted to have illicit relations with these. They didn't know they were angels, these three men. Same thing with this Levite at this old man's house in Givah in the tribe of Benjamin. The only difference is in Gomorrah, where Lot was, it was not Jewish, and it was the law of the land that they did not have hospitality in their city, as opposed to the city of Givah that was Jewish, and that the people were just totally immoral and had become so horrible that these Jews were banging on the door of a Jewish man for a Jewish man to be thrown out into the street so they could have immoral relations with him. The old man says, no, you cannot have my guest. Why does he say that? Because they were landsmen. This old man was from Ephraim, just like the Levite was from the husband was from Ephraim. And so they were landsmen, they were tribesmen. So he wasn't going to give up a tribesman to this crazy crowd. And he says, but I have a daughter who's never had relations with anyone, and I have the wife of this man, and you are welcome to take them both. And the crowd says, no, just give us the wife. And the whole night, it says they raped her and abused her, and they did terrible, immoral things to her until she was basically thrown on the porch or the entranceway of this old man's house in Givah, which is in the tribe of Benjamin. And she grabs the doorpost with the last bit of energy that she has, and she cannot even open the door. The man, the husband, wakes up in the morning and he wants to know, where's his husband, where's his wife? As if nothing has happened, as if he didn't even know that she was taken by these horrible people and thrown into the street. And he opens the door, and there she is, lying at the entrance. And he says something to her, and the next thing he's throwing her on the donkey, and they're going to back to their home. Clearly, she's dead from the terrible, terrible, tragic abuse that she endured all night long. And when he gets back to his home in the tribe of Ephraim, it says that he cuts her up in 12 pieces. And he sends the pieces to the heads of each tribe of Israel. And he attaches a note, and he says, this is what happened. And he explains what happened and the tragedy that befell his wife. And clearly he is distressed by what has happened, but yet he didn't seem to protest when the old man wanted to throw her out into the street. So we're not really sure how he's feeling. Is he angry at the other tribes? He should be angry at himself. Is he Is he upset about his wife? Or is it, okay, well, this happened, but this shouldn't have happened, and I'm sending parts to let you know, all the tribes of Israel, how horrible our societies become. It's a very strange story that we don't understand who is taking responsibility for this tragedy and who is pointing a finger. And I think a lot of the tragedy is misplaced, because the tragedy is that the husband didn't protect his wife
Right.
and stand up for her. The whole story seems to indicate that even with good intentions and good deeds, the people of Giva, the old man who offered his house for the night, while his intentions were good to offer hospitality, what kind of intentions was it to throw his virgin daughter and the Levite man's wife to the crowd to be abused and eventually murdered? What kind? It's like a warped kind of chesed, a strange kind of I'll protect this person, but I won't protect the other person. I'll allow this not to happen, but I won't allow, I'll allow the tragedy of her death to happen. It doesn't make sense. And we don't understand exactly what was in this man's head for cutting his wife up and sending it to pieces. Now, the old man, he doesn't want to take responsibility. He's complicit. And yet he thought there was no reason not to protect the husband and to throw the wife out. So this is just this is just something we can't understand. The old man, the Ephraimite who was living in the tribe of Benjamin working, used the concubine, the Pelegesh, as a sacrifice to appease the crowds. And so that's where we end chapter 19. And now we're going to see further tragedy in what happens to these people as the story continues. So we're going to read chapter 20, and I'm going to put it up on the screen. I need a reader, so someone can decide who's going to be reading, please. Okay, can you see that on the screen? Chapter 20, Shoftim,
Yeah.
the next to the last chapter. Okay. Do I have a volunteer to read?
I'll read.
Okay, go ahead. I will stop you periodically to do some explanations, okay?
Okay. And all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was assembled as one man from Dan to Beersheba.
Okay,
And
so here's the reference to these are the locations. Dan, Lebanon, Sheva, the Arava, the desert. Go ahead.
and the land of Gilead to the Lord to Mitzpah.
Okay, so in order for us to understand exactly what the location is, I'm going to show you a map. Okay, hold on. I want you, me and my maps, I'm very map oriented. So I think it's important to know where we are. We didn't have Waze back then. So let's take a look at the map. You can see that this is part of Israel. Here's Judah down in the desert. And as we said, Dan was way up here. You see, Dan is way up here.
Done.
Okay. So here's where Dan was located. And this is where they had gone to conquer their new city to live. Now, this whole Pelegesh story, this concubine, takes place. The man leaves the mountains of Ephraim, which is right here. You see that? Okay. Ephraim is right here. And they go to, she runs away back to her father, who is in Beit Lechem. Okay, so that's over here. And what happens on the way back, they stop in Giva, you see right over here on the way home. And now, after the man has sent out all the wife's parts to the different tribes, they're all meeting together. Apparently, it seems serious enough to the heads of the tribes that they all get together. And where are they meeting? Exactly where is it? Says Mitzpeh. Let's take right. Okay, right here. So it's right on the border. It seems like it's right on the border of Benjamin and very near Ephraim. You see that? Now, if I were holding a convocation of a country and my country had a holy city where people went every every 3 times a year for the Shalosh Regalim, the 3 holidays to the Mishkan, wouldn't the tribesmen think that it was important to hold that very important convocation at Shiloh, where the Mishkan was, where the sacred ark, the Aron, was resting? I would think where the Kohen Gadol was, where the Mishkan was, where the Aron was, and where the people were coming as pilgrimage on pilgrimage 3 times a year, I would think that the tribesmen all would say, "Let's meet in Shiloh." But no, they're down here in Mitzpeh. I don't know why, but that would be my commentary on right away. Why isn't this at a religious holy site? This is a serious problem that we have, folks, and so we're going to meet where God resides. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not that God doesn't reside everywhere, but to be in the holy place of Hashem. That would be my understanding of where we should meet, but I wasn't there and I wasn't chosen to have the group meet there. So I just wanted to show you that all the tribes, here they are, all the tribes gathered here at Mitzpeh, and now what's happening here? What are they saying and what's going on? We're going to take a look at, hold on 1 second. We're going to get the text back. And okay, let's see what happens. Continue. Go ahead.
And and the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel had gone up to Mitzpeh. And the children of Israel said, "Speak, how has this wickedness come about?" And the Levite man, the husband of the murdered woman, answered and said, "I came into Gilboa that belongs to Benjamin, I and my concubine to lodge. And the residents of Gilboa arose against me, surrounded the house upon me at night. Me they intended to kill, and my concubine they afflicted, following which she died." Well, did they ever say they were going to kill him?
No,
No.
no, they didn't.
No. So I grabbed my concubine and dissected her and sent her throughout the territory of the inheritance of Israel, for they committed lewdness and disgrace in Israel. Behold, you are all children of Israel. Give yourselves a decision and advice here.
Okay, let's stop. Let's stop here. All right, first of all, what do we see? What's going on? The people have all gathered there. We don't know how many people are there, but it seems like at least the heads of the tribes are there, and they want to know what happened. The Levite man from Benjamin describes the situation, but he doesn't quite describe it exactly the way it happened. They didn't ask to kill him. They wanted to have a relationships with him. So we see how the community had deteriorated. That they demanded to have the guest of the city thrown to them. Okay, he does admit that his wife is taken. He doesn't say anything like, I tried to stop, but they, held me at knife point, or gun point, or a bow and arrow, and they were going to kill me. And so they grabbed her. There's no, it's very hard to understand why he gets so upset when he makes no effort whatsoever to protect her. He doesn't protect her at all. And then he says, so behold, all of you, that we have a problem here. Now understand something. He says, all of you have a problem. He doesn't say, we have a problem in our country. He says, it's all you. He feels blameless. He feels he has done nothing to deserve that his wife is dead. This is a little bit of misplaced blame as far as I'm concerned, and some of the commentaries are very concerned about this. Okay, so then he as he tells the story, he seems to be implying it's your responsibility to fix it. Now let's see what happens here, okay? Where did we end? Okay, let's go back to here. Okay, I think this is a good point to start back. Go ahead. Continue.
I think we're number 8.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
all the people arose as one man, saying, no man will go to his tent, and no man will turn to his house. And now, this is the thing which we will do to Gilboa. We will go up
It's
against
Giva.
it's a V. Giva. We will go up against it by lot.
Okay, wait a minute. I think we missed a sentence. Here, behold, you. The man is speaking. You
Oh.
and all the children of Israel, give yourselves a decision and advice here. The man is saying we need to make some decisions and discuss this. And then he continues that the people have to speak as one. We have to come to some conclusion that this behavior can no longer continue, and that these kinds of activities cannot be part of our country.
Okay.
No man.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, it's what I think it's showing and teaching us that people have to be responsible and acknowledge their own actions.
Of course, you're right.
It doesn't make sense that this guy is like in La La Land.
He is in La La Land. Good point. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So now he's saying, no, none of you are gonna leave here until we come to some conclusions. And you're not going home to your tent, your house. You're not going anywhere until we can resolve this issue. Now, let's continue. Go ahead.
And
Okay.
we will take 10 men of 100 from all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000, to take provisions for the people, that they may do when they come to Givah of Benjamin, according to all the disgrace that was done in Israel.
All right, so he's telling everyone there's going to be representatives from based on the population count. We're going to find out all. We're going to bring people together and we're going to make some decisions. Go ahead.
And all the men of Israel were gathered concerning the city as one man in unison.
All right, so they're all together on this. Go ahead.
And the tribes of Israel sent men throughout all the tribes of Benjamin, saying, what wickedness is this that has come about among you? Therefore, now deliver the wicked men that are in Givah, and we will put them to death, and we will remove the perpetrators of evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin did not want to obey their brothers, the children of Israel.
All right, what's the first thing does anything just jump out at you that they're sending out what among the tribe of Benjamin, they want to find out who did this. If you were looking at this situation, the big picture, is this how you would handle this? Do you think that Benjamin is going to say, here's the bad guys? Everyone was a bad guy. Maybe everybody, maybe the whole community was a bad. Why would they single out anybody? I think there's, sins of omission and sins of commission. You either do the deed or you allow the deed to happen. You didn't do it yourself, but you allowed it to happen. Nobody stopped this mob from circling the old man's house. Nobody stopped these people from grabbing the concubine and basically murdering her. So why would they think that the bad guys are going to be given up to these tribes? I don't see why they think this, but okay. All right, let's continue.
And the children of Benjamin numbered on that day, out of the cities, 26,000 men that drew the sword, besides the inhabitants of Givah, who numbered 700 chosen men.
Go ahead.
You have to lift it up a little. Of all these chosen men, okay, of all these people, there were 700 chosen men with the shriveled right hand. All those could sling a stone at a hairbreadth and not miss. Oh, all these could sling a stone at a hairbreadth and not miss. And the men of Israel numbered, excluding Benjamin, 400,000 men that drew the sword. All these were men of war.
All right, so it's talking about, it seems that the people are not going to find the perpetrators. They're not going to find the people who did this terrible thing. And what they're going to do is, it seems that the tribe is preparing for war. They're amassing fighters, and we're talking here about who can fight, who can't fight. So they're not going to take responsibility. This whole thing is on a trajectory of terrible tragedy. It's not people sitting down, rational people sitting down and talking about the problem that since we, the Jewish nation, entered into Canaan, things have been challenging for us. We have not gotten rid of the Canaanites. And because we live among heathens, among idolaters and evil people, we have adopted some pretty terrible behavior. And because we've adopted pretty much awful behavior from our neighbors, we have suffered over hundreds of years that suffered the invasions and the entering of our country by many different nations, including the Philistines and the Moabites and the Hittites and the Amorites. We have suffered so badly that God has appointed throughout the years judges to bring us back to ourselves, to tell us to remember God, to remember living a holy existence, a Torah life. And look where we are now. We don't have any more judges, and we have sunk terribly low once again with no one to guide us. Now you could say, well, this whole thing is being brought up by the Levite husband. He's not a judge, he's not a prophet, he's not anything, but he has brought to our attention the fact that there is awful, awful behavior amongst our brethren. How can we solve this? This is not the derech that they've chosen. And we don't understand why this is happening now, that rather than give up the community of people who have done immoral, terrible things, they would rather go to war and kill each other. And it doesn't make sense, except for the fact that they have sunk so low that we're almost at a no going back redemption area here. So let's continue. Go ahead.
Wait,
Okay.
do they give any reason why they're sending in those 700 handicapped men with the shriveled right hands? Like,
They're not, it's not really handicapped. Yeah, when you don't use your right hand, it's an indication of not using right hand. It may have even indicate that they're left-handed.
Oh, okay, that's different. Okay.
Okay, all right, go ahead. So let's start here, 17.
And the men of Israel numbered, excluding Benjamin, 400,000 men that drew the sword. All these were men of war.
400,000 men. That's a lot. That's a lot of men. It's a lot of men who were prepared to go to war. It says excluding Benjamin, because they're the perpetrators here. Okay, you got the picture? All these warriors? Go ahead.
And they arose and went up to Bethel and asked of God, whereupon the children of Israel said, who shall go up for us first to battle against the children of Benjamin? And the Lord said, Judah first, Yehudah first.
Okay.
And the children of Israel rose up in the morning and they encamped against Givah.
Okay.
And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel arrayed battle against them at Givah. And the children of Benjamin came out of Givah, and they destroyed of the Israelites on that day 22,000 men down to the ground. Okay. And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and set again in array the battle in the place where they set themselves in array on the first day. Now they're going back. And the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until the evening. And they asked of the Lord, saying, shall I again draw near to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother? And the Lord said, go up against him. And the children of Israel approached the children of Benjamin on the second day. And Benjamin went out towards them from Giv'ah on the second day, and destroyed of the children of Israel another 18,000 men down to the ground. All these were swordsmen.
Okay, okay. Does
Not
this
brought
make sense to you? What, I mean, are any of you like shocked? Are you in amazement here? I mean, I feel that there's something not kosher, not right here. There's something wrong going on here. They are willing. Do you see how many thousands and thousands of deaths there are? This was all the tribes against Benjamin. So there's 11 tribes against one. They're fighting against this one, and Benjamin is winning. All these people cannot win against evil. And basically, they're fighting this evil. Why do you think Hashem gives them permission twice? Twice. They go up and they ask God permission. They consult. It doesn't say they go to the Kohen Gadol. It doesn't say they go to Shiloh to pray to God, to ask, for God's guidance. It doesn't say, they just ask God, what are we going to do here? Should we go up against them? Should we go up against them a second time? We lost. Look how many people died over this. What's going on here? Does anybody feel there's just something not right here?
Rhonda, I was disturbed by something when it seems like the people made the decision to do this. The Levite got them together, organized them. The people decided what to do, and then they said, "Let's go to Hashem." And I was surprised that Hashem said Judah should go first. I was surprised that he gave that answer because it just seemed like the people made the decision of what to do before they went to God.
Okay. Okay, that's a good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't the Jews who did that to her, was it?
Yes.
The Jewish?
Yeah.
I thought they were not the Jews. I thought they lived amongst oh, okay. Because I wasn't clear on that. And I'm wondering all this.
Do you remember the man said, the servant, when they leave the father's concubine's father's home, the servant says, let's stop in Yevus, where
Right.
would someday be Jerusalem. And the Levite says, no, we're not stopping in that immoral, horrible place of idolaters. We're not stopping in the Goyish community. We're going to go to a Jewish community. Right. So they continue past Yevush and they go to a community in the tribe of Benjamin that is Jewish, and that's Giv'ah. It was a Jewish.
I thought they lived amongst the Gentiles lived amongst them, and that they did that. And as far as I'm concerned, wasn't that like a big Chilul Hashem, what they asked for in the first place?
It was a terrible
what they asked
thing.
For, what they wanted in the first place?
Yes. It was a terrible thing.
But why are we assuming that it was because were they only Jews in that area? I can't understand it if they were. I mean,
well, according to the story, the man does not want to stay overnight in a non-Jewish place where it's filled with immorality. He wants to go to a Jewish place that he
And
feels
that's it.
be more welcoming and more maybe moral, Torah oriented. But he made a mistake by saying that, because look what happened. Look
Right.
what's going on here. So clearly we understand that in Giva, where he wanted to stop because it was a Jewish place,
Okay.
inhabited by Jews, that they had become as wicked, if not
Okay.
more wicked,
No, more wicked, right?
moral, than the immoral non-Jewish community.
Yes,
That's the point that's being
okay.
made here, that
Okay.
it has sunk so low. The Jews have gone, we've talked about the waves of, there's a judge that brings everyone up to righteousness and God, and then after that's over, it sinks again. They need another judge to bring them out of the troubles and ills that they're having, and we go up and down 12 times, 12
Okay.
judges. Now, these stories, whether they happened at the very end, we talked about, we don't know if they're placed correctly or not. We don't know if they are in certain points during the judges' period, but it doesn't really matter. The kind of behavior that's indicated throughout these last few chapters tell us that no matter what period of time during the Shoftim period, that the Jews were not in a good place. They were not on the Torah derech.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, okay.
Okay, so here men have lost, the tribes have lost twice, and they've lost a lot of men, and now they have to make a decision. Do we continue or not? Do we take the chance that we might lose again? So let's see what happens. Let's start here at 25. Go ahead.
Have we read that? And Benjamin went out towards them from Giva on the second day and destroyed of the children of Israel another 18,000 men down to the ground. All these were swordsmen.
Okay, so
And-
now let's see what happens.
And all the children of Israel went up, and all the people, and they came to Beit El and wept, and sat there before the Lord, and fasted on that day until the evening. And they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord.
Now, remember what I asked everybody before? Why
While
was
they're in
why
Shiloh.
were they in Shiloh? Why are they making sacrifices here in the middle of the battlefield, talking to weeping and whatever, wailing? Why weren't they in Shiloh at the Mishkan, in the holiest site in the country? Okay, that's my first question. And now, why are they weeping? Because they're part of the problem as well. You just can't kill everybody and say problem solved. You can't, I mean, just because you think you're going to get rid of everybody is not solving the root issue here, because whoever survives still is part of the community of this bad behavior. So I think the whole approach to all of this, the whole idea of all of this, and the only time they consult with God is to tell them who should go first in battle, what they should do in battle. Should they go or not go? Maybe what God's showing them here is that he's not quite on their side yet, because God has said, you go to battle twice. and twice they've lost. So maybe that's an indication that God knows that everybody is corrupt, that the whole country is corrupt. And so God's maybe not on anybody's side here. And maybe they haven't gone about it the right way. Let's find out what happens. Go ahead.
Okay. And the children of Israel asked of the Lord, for there was the ark of the covenant of God in those days.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, wait, the ark, I thought they weren't in Shiloh. So where
They
was the
were.
ark?
They were in Beit El.
Oh, and that's where the ark of the covenant was?
No, it was in Shiloh.
So that,
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
oh, okay. And is that Pinchas?
Yeah.
And
Right.
Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, while they were saying, shall I again go out to battle with the children of Benjamin, my brother, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into your hand.
Okay, now here we have something I find extremely strange. We have an introduction. Remember Pinchas? He's the grandson of Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2 stories prior, we had the grandson of Moshe. Remember the Levite who goes to the house of Micha, where the idol was, the house of idolatry. Now we have Pinchas from the grandson of Aaron, who's become part of this. Now you could say, well, maybe this story takes place closer to the time of Yehoshua and coming into the land, where it would be very possible for the grandson of Aaron to be a part of this. But if this is really in the correct time frame, that it's almost over 300 plus years since they entered the period of Shoftim. So it's very hard to understand. Maybe this is a part of the story. They want, Pinchas was always someone who championed the right cause. In many of the different stories we read in Shoftim, as well as in the Torah, in the Chumash, we read that Pinchas comes, he's a zealot, and he comes and he corrects the situation, and he fights for Eretz Yisrael and for Hashem. So why do we have the introduction of Pinchas here? It's hard to say. It's hard to say whether Shmuel, who's the author of these stories, puts him in there to show that there is someone there fighting for the right cause, that somebody has to stand up for Bnei Yisrael, for the Torah observing community, and perhaps this is an analogy brought in for this story. We don't really know. The Mefarshim are out on this. Some people say the Midrash, it's Midrashic, to make a story, a point. It's very hard to understand. But what we do understand, that he's telling us that go forth tomorrow, and God's gonna make a decision of what you have to do. Okay, so let's continue. Go ahead.
Right, so it's the people.
Right here, 29.
And Israel set liars in wait against Givah around.
So
And the
they're
children,
encircling, they're going out and they're encircling the city, or where, the community, the people waiting to see what's going to happen. Go ahead.
and the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the 3rd day, and set themselves in array against Givah, as at the previous times. And the children of Benjamin went out towards the people until they were drawn away from the city, and they began to kill of the people, causing casualties as previously, along the highways, of which one goes up to Beit-El and the other to Givah, killing in the field 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, "They are beaten before us, as at first." But in actuality, the children of Israel had said, "Let us flee and draw them away from the city to the highways."
Okay.
All the men of Israel rose up out of their place and set themselves in array at Baal Tamar. And the liers in wait of Israel drew forth out of their place, out of Ma'arei Givah. And there came over against Givah 10,000 chosen men of all Israel. But the battle was heavy, because they did not know that misfortune was approaching them. And the Lord beat Benjamin before Israel. And the children of Israel destroyed of Benjamin on that day 25,100 men. All of these were swordsmen, killing left and right.
That's right. Terrible. Terrible.
And the children of Israel saw that they were beaten. And the men of Israel gave place to Benjamin, because they trusted in the liers in wait that they had set upon against Givah. And the liers in wait hastened and scattered upon Givah, and the liers in wait blew and smote the entire city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed time between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great pillar of smoke rise from the city. Now, as the men of Israel turned in battle, Benjamin began to kill, causing casualties of the men of Israel amounting to 30 men, for they said, "Surely they are beaten before us as in previous battle." And the pillar began to rise from the city, a column of smoke. And as Benjamin turned behind themselves, and behold, there arose the smoke of the entire city towards heaven. And the men of Israel turned, and the men of Benjamin panicked, for they saw that misfortune was approaching them. And they turned from before the men of Israel towards the way of the wilderness. But the soldiers of the war caught up with them, and those of the cities destroyed them within it. They encircled the Benjamites. They called a pursuit upon them. Near their resting places, they overtook them, as far as against Givah, along its east. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men. All these were men of valor. Wow. And they turned and fled to the wilderness, to the rock of Rimmon. And they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men. Then they pursued after them until Gidom, and killed of them 2,000 men. Now it was all that fell of Benjamin, or 25,000 swordsmen on that day, and all were men of valor. Good to call them men of valor. And they turned and fled to the wilderness, to the rock. Oh, did I read that?
No,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To the rock of Rimmon, 600 men, and they abode in the rock of Rimmon 4 months. And the men of Israel turned upon the children of Benjamin and smote them with the edge of the sword, destroying from the city even the cattle, even all that was found. Also, all the cities which they found, they set on fire.
Okay. So, what do you get from how do you feel? It just kept going on and on and on, right?
Utter disaster.
This was a civil war. This was brother against brother, Jew against Jew. This was not a war against an enemy, exterior, existential enemy. It was brother against brother. And we know that when you fight against your brethren, it becomes a civil war. And this is what was happening to our people. They were killing each other. They were not understanding that the root cause of the terrible situation that was brought to their attention was their own bad behavior. And so this kind of war situation, brother against brother, is really a generic kind of a story. It's giving us a picture of what the civilization looked like at the time. And so consequently, when we read this and we say to, oh my God, this is just terrible. This is horrible. What's going on here? Well, we're finding that this kind of behavior is when people don't want to take responsibility for what has happened in their lives and their communities. They don't want to understand what the problem is. And the 11 tribes thought that if they destroyed the 12th tribe, then everything would just be fine. And that's not true. Even by consulting what they think they're consulting the Hashem, God in this situation, God allows everybody in this story to be killed. Everybody from all the tribes. There wasn't a real winner and a loser. Everybody was a loser. The whole country was a loser because they couldn't understand what was going on amongst themselves. And when you cannot understand what has happened to your country and what needs to be remedied and fixed, then you bear the responsibility of whatever comes your way, including battles, wars, civil wars against each other. And consequently, the whole country now has had terrible losses. And it wasn't just men it said everybody. In a civil war, everybody gets killed. Men, women, children, cattle, everything. So this was a lose-lose situation. And we hear about it through Shmuel's lens of how bad the situation is. And now, at the end of this, next to the last chapter of Shoftim, we learn that there are almost no Benjamites left. So next week, we're going to find out what happens as a result of this terrible tragedy, this terrible war that everyone has fought within the country of Eretz Yisrael, and how ashamed we should, at this point in our history, it's nothing to be proud of. Now, I'm going to end with something very, very interesting, and it happens to be Midrash. And you know that I, 99.9% of the time, do not bring up Midrash because I think people sometimes remember Midrash more than text and gets us sometimes in trouble. So we swear by Midrash that it's the MS, but it's the text that we should really know. So that's something that my personal issue. But I did want to tell you about a very, very interesting Rashi that happens to be about this particular situation. It's said by Rashi that there were 600 Benjamites left in all of Israel. And the Benjamites were afraid that they were going to be all slaughtered. So 500 of them get into boats And they leave Israel. Now, if you are in Israel and you get in a boat, where can you go? There's not a whole lot of places you can go except into the Mediterranean. And, they didn't have very sophisticated ships waiting in harbors or whatever. They go in boats, almost like, fleeing for their lives. So Rashi says that these 500 men who left Israel end up in Italy. Seems like a logical place to go. I mean, they could have gone to Greece, whatever, but Italy, very close by. And we know from history that Italy, especially Rome, has the oldest Jewish community of any other place in the world, where there is a very different nusach and davening from any other place that you'll find Jews went to. And Rashi feels that these 500 men set up a community in Rome, in Italy. And the community was started by the Benjamites, so that they escaped being murdered by their brethren and having further civil war. So there's only now 100 Benjamites left. And this is where I'll leave you as a cliffhanger for next week's stories. Okay? So I hope all of you have a good week. Do you have any questions or comments?
Rhonda, it would
Yes.
seem to me that if our government and our higher ups or whatever can't get together, we might be in the same situation.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not gonna step in that. I'm not gonna go there. Go ahead.
I want a boat.
Any other comments or questions that you might have about this chapter?
Rhonda, can I just ask a question? Looking at the map, it looked as though Mitzvah was in the area of Modi'in. Am I correct?
It's
Between the area, halfway between Tel Aviv and
yeah,
Yerushalayim.
you could say, okay, you could say that. And Modi'in is in Benjamin. Okay. It's very possible, but Modi'in was a city from the Hanukkah story. So it's not on the map yet.
I'm gonna come in.
No, I just thought geographic.
But it could be. Could be.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have anything to say? It's pretty tragic and makes me feel very sad. Of course, while we're living through a war today, it makes me even sadder to read of our history where Jew fought Jew. It's not the first time and it's not the last time that we're going to learn this. But here we are. Okay. Well, ladies, thank you for joining me today and learning this chapter. And I hope that it gives us some insights into when we say brotherly love, avat achim, that we truly can understand the significance of that based on today's chapter. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Take good care. Be well. And have a Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank
Very
you.
interesting and disturbing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mommy, for letting me.
You're welcome. You can stay on for a minute.
I'll stay
Bye,
on.
Rhonda.
Take care, everybody. Be well.
Thanks, Mommy.
Don't forget to sign up for the class, for the trip to the library and for the Siyum. Morning.